So, this is an interesting and key time. So, I talked about the Ducks last night, which was the outlier. And really what the Ducks did was impressive, very impressive. And then Detroit did something impressive in 2008, and then it's Pittsburgh's turn in 2009. This is where the official changing of the guard took place. This is where Detroit handed off the torch to the Penguins. Malkin, 113 points in the regular season. Malkin, 36 points in the playoffs. Malkin's the Conn Smythe winner. Marc-Andre Fleury, 16 wins, 908 save percentage. He didn't play great. He did not play great. He didn't play as well as Osgood. So in the last video I talked about Osgood, and I said there was a connection between Detroit and Pittsburgh. So I'm doing these back to back. Osgood puts up a 926 save percentage, 201 goals against, 15-8. They're one game short. I don't think you're going to find anybody right now that doesn't think that Marc-Andre Fleury is a big game goaltender. And you're going to get an argument about whether or not Chris Osgood is. You're going to hear, well, Osgood was on really good teams. Put up really good numbers, too. You don't just do that. So, to get into the interesting part of this, there's two series I want to look at. Because the team that won is a team that you guys all know. We're into the last decade. This isn't one where I need to say, back in my day, this is something that 90% of the people on this channel, I believe, will remember well. Crosby, Kunitz, Stahl, Garin, Sikora, Fedotenko, Shatan, right behind Malkin. In the playoffs, it's Crosby, Garin, Kunitz, Sikora, Gonchar, Talbot, Letang. This was a very good, very deep team. In the second round, they met Capitals. And right here, Capitals on cusp of Cup. And there's a very happy Alex Ovechkin with his Hart Trophy and his Pearson Trophy and his Rocket Richard. One trophy's missing. Conn Smythe. And this is interesting. Not golf, not Gatorade, not even grueling training camp drills designed to toughen them. Never mind. Not golf, not Gatorade, not even grueling training camp drills designed to toughen them up. Coach Bruce Boudreau hopes nothing washes away the unpleasant taste left in the mouths of the Capitals players after a second-round playoff ouster by the eventual Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. So, Boudreau's eliminated into Game 7. The Capitals are eliminated by the Penguins en route to a Stanley Cup. This is all very similar, isn't it? I hope it motivates them, Boudreau said. I mean, it should. Washington's come far enough, quickly enough, that incremental improvement is no longer a satisfactory result for a team with aspirations of advancing deep into the postseason. And the president of two-time Hart Trophy winner Alex Ovechkin makes lofty goals more than fanciful daydreams. 2009-2010 will be a telling year. Washington is on the verge of breaking into the NHL's elite. The Caps boast creative, explosive offensive players, a core of emerging talent, and a defense anchored by a Norris-caliber player in Mike Green. But the question remains, is that enough? Long on grit and determination, the Capitals can't afford to backslide this season. Key players such as Ovechkin, Green, Nicholas Backstrom, and Alexander Semin are just entering their peak productive years, and they'll need to deliver to compensate for a sometimes faulty defense and an unsure goaltending tandem. Whether Washington has enough top-to-bottom talent to complement its offensive prowess will determine how far the Capitals ultimately progress. They're still there. The Capitals are still in that spot. And now all of that peaking talent, a lot of them are coming out of their prime. So what do you do now? Now Detroit, Wings offense clipped. The Red Wings came excruciatingly close to cementing their dynasty status last season. Then the salary cap ate away at their depth in the offseason. And three years of long playoff runs and short summers could take their toll this year. The Wings won't be as strong as the team whose bid to win back-to-back Stanley Cups ended in Game 7 of the final game against Pittsburgh. But with a solid core of prime young players, joined by some promising youngsters, a 5th Cup in 13 seasons is not out of the question. Because you're always a contender. Until you're not. Until you're rebuilding. They just have to do more with less. They couldn't afford to re-sign forwards Marian Hossa, Michael Samuelsson, and Thomas Kopechki. while Yuri Hudler inked a 2-year deal with Moscow Dynamo of the Continental League. The four accounted for 88 of Detroit's 289 goals, including Hosa's team-high 40. Marian Hossa loses in the Stanley Cup final to Detroit and decides, I'm going to go to Detroit and try to help them win back-to-back. Loses in the Stanley Cup final at Pittsburgh. Signs in Chicago. The joke at the time was that we had a picture of him looking despondent after Detroit lost. Somebody then photoshopped the Penguins jersey onto him looking despondent after Detroit lost. And I remember at the time somebody had already photoshopped the Chicago Blackhawks jersey onto Hossa looking despondent because he'd signed in Chicago. That leads into the 2010 Stanley Cup. No, I'm not doing the 2010 Stanley Cup today. I'm stopping with this one. But for me, Detroit, that would definitely have made them a dynasty if they had won that Game 7. But it was gutted out by the Penguins. And this win and this dominance is why, for me, Evgeny Malkin is in that generational, very small generational league in terms of his talent. Because Crosby played 77 games. It's not like Crosby wasn't playing. Malkin was first team All-Star ahead of Crosby. He was second team. Malkin was fantastic. Bill Garin is underrated in this one too. Bill Garin had a very good playoff and was a very nice addition at the deadline. Jordan Stahl's another one that kind of doesn't get enough press for his role with the Penguins back then. Of course, Jordan then would want to go to Carolina, where he felt he'd get more ice time and more of a chance to prove himself, and to play with his brother Eric as well. And I honestly think that was something that didn't help Jordan Stahl. Honestly. But with Fleury in net, Crosby, Malkin up front, Letang on the blue line, it's a very similar looking bunch. It is. I mean, let's just go through and figure out how many of these players are still there. I'm going to go with their depth chart. Okay, Kunitz just left. Fedotenko's long gone. Cook's long gone. Dupuis long gone. Oh, God. Cook's got his name on a Stanley Cup. I hadn't even thought of that part of it. Yeah. It's kind of sickening, isn't it? Marcel Dion, no Stanley Cups. Matt Cook? Yeah, he's got one. Pascal Dupuis, who will never play again. And then down the middle, yeah, Crosby, Malkin, Stahl, Craig Adams. That was a fantastic top to bottom. Right wing, Garin, Talbot, Kennedy. They have Chris Connor in here as an addition. And then on defense, Gonchar, Orpik, Letang, Eaton, McKee, Goligoski. Lovejoy's 7th. I believe he ended up playing that season over McKee. I don't think Jay McKee played very much with Pittsburgh because he'd been hurt a lot. Or he ended up getting hurt a lot. Is that when it started? Yeah, he played 69 games the year before in St. Louis. And I'm pretty sure Lovejoy ended up playing ahead of him. So it's an interesting look back at the team. I mean, they finished with 99 points. They were 4th in the conference, 8th overall. Again, this is the Pittsburgh thing. The Penguins, they're not a team that worries themselves with President's Trophies. They're not a team that worries themselves with regular season wins as much as postseason. They want to win in the regular season, don't get me wrong. Their competitiveness is really high. It's just when that postseason starts, their star players show up. And they play really, really well. They beat Philly in the first round in 6, which was a very good, hard-fought series. Washington in 7, and again, Capitals always come up short in these series. It doesn't matter if they're ahead. It doesn't matter if they're playing better. Nothing matters. In the end, they'll lose. Carolina got swept because they were in way over their heads, and then Detroit lost in 7. It was an impressive run, and it was done with average goaltending. I like Fleury a lot. I'm not taking shots at him, but it was an average performance by Fleury that got them to that first Stanley Cup. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're just browsing your way through. And thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.